with our look. Great. And for us to start off, I'm going to hand things over to Kiki, um, who will begin with the look back at 2024.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. So Kiki Poe, I am supervising our membership team. If I can get the next slide. Well, let's go over our mission. So EBHO mobilizes the power and wisdom of our members to produce, preserve, and protect affordable housing opportunities for low-income communities in the East Bay. We should all know this, right? But just in case you didn't. Next slide, please. It's that friendly reminder. I want to thank all of our funding partners, all listed here, and the countless number of organizations that support us, our organizational members. Too many to list here, but they're on our website. Next slide, please. And here we are, our membership team. Next slide. So I shared our mission statement, but I want to also go over our vision statement. So EBHO's vision, right, what we're working towards is a racially and economically just East Bay where everyone has a safe, stable, and affordable home. So a few years ago, we went over, we invited some members to create this image because we wanted to illustrate what does it feel like? What does it sound like? What does it smell like? What does it look like, right? To have a safe, stable, affordable home and community. And this is what we created together. And so this is what we're working towards, right? And everyone should have received this. If you haven't yet, please let us know. We'd be happy to send them. Most of us have it up in our offices. It's just such a great illustration of what we're working towards. And so I kind of wanted to highlight a few of these. You know, we are looking at, we want to rest. We want rest and recreation. We want walkable communities. We want to build bonds with our neighbors and break down those physical and emotional walls. We want parks and gardens, thriving businesses, and we want safe spaces to just be. So this is what we're working towards together, right? As an organization, as a collective. I'm gonna, next slide, please, pose a question to you. Trivia question. Did you know that we were going to test you today? Let's see. How many members do we have at EBHO? Who knows? And I can't see everyone. 1 second. Let's see. Any hands raised over there? That's okay. Next slide. We have over 400 members and we're growing. That's the goal, right? We want to grow that membership. We need all hands on deck. We need all of the folks across the East Bay with all of the different experiences and interests to be a part of this housing movement as we work towards housing justice. So we're at over 400. We want to be at over 600. And I think we can do it. So I'm going to pass it over to one of my colleagues to talk a little bit more about our membership. So introducing Lavender Briscoe, our membership associate.
Thank you, Kiki. Thank you, Kiki. Hi, everyone. I'm Lavender, the membership associate, and I've been here at EBHO since June of this year. In my role, I help with membership outreach and engagement, which entails communicating with our amazing members and supporters and managing our donor relations database. So this year, in honor of our 40th anniversary, we had one of our largest membership drives where we reached out to all of our individual members, our organizational members, and our active supporters within the last 4 years, basically sharing an overview of our achievements this year and reminding folks to renew their membership. So thanks to all our amazing supporters, we've almost reached our fundraising goal for the year. and I wanted to show a breakdown of where our 2025 members are located. So as you can see, majority of our membership is in Alameda County with 51%. We also have the second largest in Contra Costa County with 32%, and then we have about 7% in San Francisco County, about 8% in various other counties, including Marin, San Mateo, Solano, and more, and then about 2% of our membership is out of state. Next slide, please. And we're grateful to have had a number of new members this year. And here's another breakdown of where our new members are located. So again, a largest majority of our membership is in Alameda County with about 54.5%. And then we have about 18% in Contra Costa County, 14% in San Francisco, about 4.5% in San Mateo, 4.5% in Solano, and then about 4.5% in various other counties as well. In 2025 of this year, we really want to expand our community of housers in the Tri-Valley, which consists of Danville, Dublin, Livermore, Pleasanton, and San Ramon, which is why during our membership drive, we sent out about 600 letters and really expanded our mailing list. So yeah, and a few moments that stood out in particular during our membership drive were really the positive feedback we received from the individuals and organizations that we reach out to, really expressing their gratitude for EBHO, which reminded me how important our work is for the community. Our outreach efforts this year have also consisted of deepening our relationships with many of our organizational members. So this year, EBHO hosted about 6 learning labs where our organizational members visited our office to share their work, lead educational discussions around housing, and kind of explore ways that we could all collaborate. So we're really excited to continue into 2025 with a strong membership and amazing organizational partnerships.
Thank you so much, Lavender. I'm going to invite Briseida, our operations associate, to share a little bit about what her experience was. Also a newer staff member, so first time participating in the membership drive. And so I wanted to invite her up to talk about what her experience has been with engaging with the members.
Hi everyone, I'm Briseida, the operations associate, and I joined EBHO in June. I think in exactly 2 days it'll be 5 months now. But in that short amount of time, I have really seen the strength and power in EBHO that not only resides in, past and current board and past and current staff members, but in its membership as well. And just through the various tasks I've had in these 5 past months, I've learned the stories of EBHO's history, and I've worked closely with our board members and see how passionate they are towards EBHO's goals. But more importantly, I've also grown to build memorable relationships during this time that allowed me to learn really how powerful EBHO's work is. And as Lavender and Kiki were mentioning during our membership drive, we did extensive research to get specific details in order to personalize these letters that were being sent out to our members. And this research entailed looking into people's profiles and our stories with them and noting the ways they've been involved with EBHO over time. And by doing such research, we were able to pull from an individual's activities with EBHO and write these very personalized messages. We signed each individual's letters, and it was just very heartwarming to see how so many people are committed to EBHO's legacy and future in various ways. And so I really wanted to take time to thank you all thank everybody who's been continuing to support EBHO, and we're very excited to continue to work together into the next year. So thank you for being here today, and I'll pass it over back to Kiki.
Thank you, Briseida. So one of our big efforts in the year is Affordable Housing Month, which hopefully everyone is familiar with. And during that month, it's a time that we collaborate with our partners across the entire Bay Area, so all 9 counties, and we are the convener for specifically Alameda and Contra Costa County. But this is a grand effort to take the month of May and really focus on the affordable housing movement, right? And so there are parties, there's celebrations, there are educational webinars, there are conversations, there are grand openings and groundbreakings. There's a lot that happens throughout the month. And so this year, I'm sure you've heard, we had 30 events, and this is the biggest that we've had in EBHO history. I don't know if we'll aim for that same number next year, but it was a wonderful time. It was powerful. There was a lot of movement. And so again, it's not EBHO hosting those events, right? It is a collaboration. So it's a time for partnership. I wanted to first kind of highlight and remind folks of who our honorees were. So before, as the month gets started, we have our kickoff event. And this year we had two honorees, Miss Cecilia Cunningham and My Eden Voice. And so if you weren't able to make it to our kickoff, I want to take a moment to honor them again. And so I'm going to just read this. So Miss Cecilia Cunningham, in recognition of her unwavering commitment to community service as an organizer with EBHO's Resident Community Organizing Program, also known as RCOP. Ms. Cecilia embodies exemplary leadership, inspiring us all toward a future where housing is recognized as a human right. And My Eden Voice, in recognition of their tireless advocacy for tenant rights in the Eden area of Alameda County and their efforts to educate community members about their legal rights. My Eden Voice has swiftly emerged as a formidable voice and a steadfast moral compass in the housing justice movement. So if you're able to, can we give them a round of applause here? I know you're doing it. I can't see. There we go. Thank you, everyone. We really want to honor all of our folks, because even if you weren't the two people that received that award, we know that everyone is doing their part in the movement. I want to, let's go next slide, please. To also highlight 3 of the 30 events that happened. Again, there's so many things that happened during that month and so many partnerships that were had. I just wanted to highlight these 3. 2 of them are new members. So Artist Space Trust, they held an event, Artists are Foundational, Artist Space Trust, and the CLT, the California Land Trust Model for Affordable Housing Solutions. I will pop a link in the chat so you can learn more about their organization. This housing trust came out of the Ghost Ship fires. And the goal is to create a space that is safe, stable, and affordable for artists. There also was the Vineyard Resource Center grand opening that happened in Livermore by Housing Consortium of the East Bay. This resource center has 24 units. It has a kitchen that is led by Open Heart Kitchen, and it's a resource center for various wraparound services. And they are located in Livermore, but they serve Dublin and Pleasanton and other areas of the Tri-Valley. And then Supportive Housing Community Land Alliance, they had an event, Housing as Healthcare, the role of adult residential facilities in the housing and health continuums of care. And so I wanted to highlight these just as kind of different events that happen, right? Very important conversations, very important places for us to learn more. And so we'll be starting our planning for 2025 Affordable Housing Month. I know it happens in May, but we have to start in January to get ready for that. So again, it's a partnership. So if you are one of those partners who want to get involved and host an event with us, be on the lookout. And I think I'm handing it over to Kate now, our communications manager, to talk more. There we go.
Okay. Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Kate, and I'm the communications manager here at EBHO. I've been on this team for a little over a year and a half. And by far, my favorite part about working in this space is getting to help people tell their stories. And with EBHO's 40-year history, that's a lot of stories. And every day I find myself learning something new from all of these community members, from all of these stories learning something new about the East Bay and this place that we all call home. So this year, as you probably have heard, it was our 40th anniversary, and our theme was Powerful Future, Powerful Legacy. And this theme really helped guide the kinds of stories that we wanted to tell. And I really enjoyed getting to dig through the archives and speak with some of the folks who have made such a big impact on EBHO and in the East Bay housing justice community as a whole over the decades. So two of the main projects that I worked on this year were this monthly Lunch and Learn series that we're in now, and another shorter series of videos called 40 Years, 40 Voices, which highlighted some of the people who have made EBHO special and contributed to the powerful legacy that we all share. So first, for the Lunch and Learns, we've had topics from Housing Elements 101 to an organizer's Skillshare to a 40-year look back, which is this one right here, of our rich history and many more topics. And I'm really proud of the depth and the breadth of the topics that we've covered in the series. Over 400 community members have attended the 11 previous Lunch and Learns this year. And so we thank you for joining us today for our final one of the year. I'm also excited to announce that due to popular demand, we'll be continuing the series into the new year. So keep an eye out for an announcement of the next quarter's topics. And so for the next project, I wanted to share, you might have seen some of these videos already too. So a few months ago, I set the ambitious goal of collecting 40 short videos from some of the key members of EBHO's history and community. And I'm happy to share that we've collected 41. We compiled these into a few short videos that tell the story of EBHO and our work over the years from the perspective of its founders, former board and staff, resident leaders, community members, supporters, and current staff. So here are just a couple screenshots. Here's Kathy Eberhardt, who is one of our board members and resident leader. Here's our previous executive director, Gloria Bruce, and our senior policy director, Jeff Levin, who's pretty much been in all of the roles throughout the years. And so I really enjoyed getting to interview some of our founding members, especially during this process. I interviewed them in person. I also was just able to get to know a lot of our current members and community supporters better throughout this process and kind of stitch together the different stories and their experiences and what they think makes EBHO's work so special. And so you can check out these videos on our Instagram, LinkedIn, and our website. And overall, I'm just really proud of the work that we did to celebrate 40 years of housing justice advocacy in Oakland and the East Bay. And I hope you enjoyed seeing some of the content we created this year and that it has inspired you to reflect on your personal wins, our collective wins, your role in the movement, as well as to look ahead to the work in years to come.
Thank you so much. And that's it for our membership communication and operations teams. I'll pass it over to Sophia.
Great, thank you, Kiki. Since we are done with the membership operations and communications team, next we'll hear from the organizing team about their work this past year. And I want to pass it over to my colleague, Dolores Tejada, who's our Director of Organizing.
Thank you. And excited to be here and talk a little bit about the work that we have done this year. I'm going to ask that we go to the next slide where I will talk about, could you hit refresh on the PowerPoint? It should be filled out. There should be more. Oh, thank you. We're going to restart the PowerPoint. So some of the things that we'll discuss today is some high-level highlights of work that we've done as an organizing team. We'll also talk about some of the programs that we run here, and then also some of our campaign work. So I'm really excited. It was an election year. I know many of us want to forget, but we did some great election work this year, which one of us will talk about. So some highlights. For Leadership Academy, it's a program we run every year for residents of affordable housing, staff of affordable housing anyone who wants to engage in this important work that we do. The Leadership Academy is the opportunity to do that. This year we had 7 graduates, and we have already launched our application for our next session, which is going to begin in the spring. We've had a record number of applicants, so we definitely recommend that if you are considering being a part of the Leadership Academy, that you do so. And we have we're upping the ante. We're doing 25 people for 2025, so we are going to hopefully have the largest class we've ever had, and we look forward to running that program. In terms of faith and justice, one of the other organizing programs under the organizing team, there were 2 major events. There was an Affordable Housing Month event that was successful and had, I believe, 25 people. And then we also, of course, had our breakfast in I think it was September, where over 125 people participated and engaged on the voting issues that we worked on this year. Another thing that I really want to highlight is that we really stepped up in terms of the solidarity work or the intersectional work that we can do as an organization. We did a survey at the beginning of the year of the Oakland committee members, and there was a really strong push for us to engage more in tenant protections work. So we were able to do that by supporting through the city budget as well as on a county level, that to ensure that organizations doing tenant protections work are receiving the funding that they need to keep people housed, as well as supporting legislation in Oakland that would make sure people stay housed, such as the amendments that just passed 2 days ago that would ensure there are limits on landlord rent raise banking, and a couple of other issues. The other thing that we did in terms of solidarity work is we did a lunch and learn on disability and housing. And it's really the first part of a larger conversation around how disability plays into the ways that we are or are not housed, and how our industry can be more disability justice oriented. And what does disability justice mean? Lastly, we have supported our houseless neighbors by being a part of the point in time count, by being a part of actions that they have led the way on, and really just lending our capacity, our efforts to be able to support the work that needs to get done so that everyone can get housed. And then lastly, we did voter education. Angelina's going to talk a little bit more in depth on that, but we did host 2 candidates forums related to Oakland City Council candidates and the Board of Supervisor seats. And we were able to also do really just ask some great questions related to what their positioning on housing was, and to get a better understanding of who the candidates are when it comes to housing. So advocacy, we had I think a lot of advocacy wins. In terms of Measure U, Jeff is going to talk a little bit later about Measure U and labor standards, but we have been monitoring and following along with how Measure U is being distributed. We've advocated multiple times for the forward commitment of Measure U funds, which is to say that we know that the money is there. If we forward commit, give a promissory note to developers that they will receive that funding, they can then use that to go and seek further funding. To ultimately what it will do is get buildings, get funding quicker, which will help build faster and get people housed faster, hopefully. We have continued to engage as a part of the Oakland People's Budget to be a part of the Oakland City budget process and make sure that we are talking about refunding the services and programs that we know work to keep people housed and to keep people in Oakland healthy and happy. And we also have been engaged in impact fees. After many years of demanding a report, that report finally came out a couple weeks ago, so we are following along with that, as well as making recommendations. We had a letter writing campaign, and we had I believe over 120 letters generated to city council members in support of our impact fee recommendations. And there's a lot more. Jeff, our policy director, led work on the downtown Oakland specific plan and the housing element. We also, in the past couple weeks, have been making sure that boomerang funds stay dedicated to its intended purpose. So we are going to continue to monitor how the city of Oakland really plays a role in how housing is built, and making sure that we are leading the way and ensuring that housing is properly funded, and that the efforts that we do and using our expertise to make sure that we have a voice in what is happening in our city. Next slide, please. So next, I am going to toss it over to Damien, who's going to talk about more successes with our COP, among other things.
Yeah, thank you, Dolores. Damian Scott here, lead organizer at EBHO. Just wanted to quickly highlight the social media success we've had this year. This is the year we began in earnest with our Begins with Home campaign in partnership with nonprofit housing organizations and a number of other housing orgs in the Bay Area. If you go on TikTok, you look up Begins with Home. We've created a few, like 24 TikTok videos this year, and I created 9 with the help of Angelina and Kate on staff, and collectively those 9 videos have garnered over 6 million views. And one such video, the one highlighted here with my dumb face, I wish they had went with a different screen cap. But it was recognized by the Housing Narrative Lab for social media storytelling. So the work that we are doing to reach out to communities who would be pro housing but don't necessarily know how to plug in. We're using it as a tool to get to talk to those communities, and they're definitely hearing. We're being recognized. I'm being stopped in the street and told, "I'll watch your videos. Do I get involved?" So yeah, we've had great success with year on social media. Let's please go to another slide. Thank you.
I'm going to toss it over before we jump into Prop 5 to Ronnie to talk a little bit about the outreach and education work that we have done this year.
Hey everybody, Ronnie Boyd here, Faith and Justice or organizer with EBHO. I'm just going to speak a little bit about some of our speaking engagements this past year as a team. So our senior campaign strategy associate, Angelina Cornejo, spoke about the regional funding measure and statewide ballot to lower the threshold both at NLIHC, Housing is Built with Ballots, or organizing to win affordable homes at the ballot box, and at Yimby Town panels, where housing was on the ballot and speakers discussed how pro-housing policies with ballot measure campaigns. Angelina is a very dynamic person, so she also spoke at the Housing Leadership Day on Latinx for Housing Justice. She enlightened the audience on EBHO's work with the Latinx community, her lived experience, how the housing justice movement can more meaningfully include Latinx communities. So we're really grateful for Angelina's leadership on that topic. And lastly, myself, I spoke at the Occurs Faith Forward Conference on Housing Justice, where I talked about how residents can support affordable housing and ways to amplify a housing first message. So as we can see, this past year has been not just about, well, it's about changing hearts and minds, but doing it in every avenue that we know possible. And EBHO or organizing staff have always been a leader in like the thought leadership arena around how we talk about housing, how we get affordable housing, and how we create a more just society for everybody. So I'll just pass it over to
me.
Yeah.
And additionally, I know that Damien also did some presentations related to getting out the vote work as well. So now we're going to talk a little bit more about Prop 5 and the election season, and I'll pass it over to Angelina to close this out.
Hello, everyone. My name is Angelina Correjo. I'm the Senior Campaign Strategy Associate here at EBHO. I know that Prop 5 didn't go the way that we wanted statewide, but that is not to diminish all the efforts of every single member of EBHO with doing outreach to voters. Because of all of the work that EBHO did as a lead agency in Alameda County, Alameda County's performance and outperformed at 56% of the vote. So that is to say that that's all the work that we put into getting out there from the beginning, where Damien led a lot of the voter registration drives at affordable housing buildings. We added 33 new registrants. To each of the volunteer events that we had approximately 20 volunteers. We had 14 shifts of flowering at BART stations that we partnered with our partners at RCD. We had 4 days of farmers market tabling. We knocked and lid dropped to 500 households, including at affordable housing buildings. We sent out over 100 postcards to key voters. We sent out 100,000 texts to voters just at EBHO alone, and that sort of culminated into distributing 1,550 plus pieces of walk cards. And this is to say that the campaign started in September, and there was a little bit of a misunderstanding with some of the what the actual campaign work was going to be, but that did not mean that we didn't get out there and started doing things before we were even told specifically what our role was going to be in this campaign. And the enthusiasm that each member showed is a testament to how ready we are for the next campaign that comes to us, and we are more than prepared and equipped to make sure that our next funding measure passes and that we deliver homes for the people who really need them. So I know I gave you a little bit of a one of the counties that passed the Prop 5 measure, but let's move to the next slide for a trivia question. So how many counties passed Proposition 5? Does anybody know? And if you're being if you want super points, could you also name them? Does anybody want to raise their hand?
I think you mean voted majority vote of wanting to vote Prop 5, right? Because Prop 5 didn't pass.
Yeah, but yeah, essentially. So which counties actually voted 50% plus one vote in the state of California?
Alameda.
That's one. Okay,
San Francisco.
San Francisco, that's another one.
Alpine County is another one.
Alpine. So that's
LA
three.
County.
LA County.
Santa Cruz County or
Santa
Contra Costa
Cruz.
County.
Not Contra Costa.
Okay.
Yeah. We're at 5. So here, show the answer. We don't have too much time. So it was 7 counties, San Francisco being at 62%, Alameda 56%. So we're the second top vote getter of all of the state. Los Angeles with 51, Alpine 51%, Humboldt, Santa Cruz, and Monterey just barely over 50%. So these are the 7 counties in the state of California who did say yes, we should lower the threshold for housing bonds to 55%. So yeah, there we go. I'll pass it along back to Dolores to tell us what we'll be talking about next.
That's the end of our portion. I'm going to pass it to Sophia.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And Damien, are you going to discuss or tell us a little bit about RCOP and Run?
Yes, I could if we have time. Yeah, just to talk real quick because Dolores did mention before about all of the campaigns, the Oakland-based campaigns that Dolores had mentioned. RCOP, that's the a resident community organizing program committee. We're all a part of that and gave comment in support of it. Wanted to highlight Measure U in particular because that one was successful. And of like Dolores said, Jeff, we'll talk about that even more. And also with Run the Residents United Network, which is through Housing California. It's how our resident leaders get plugged into our statewide work. We advocated for at this year's lobby day, among other things, AB 653 from Assemblymember Reyes, which would streamline California's Section 8 housing voucher process. And that was a 2-year bill that was successful this year. And that's some of the that's some of the highlights we from the resident organizing work that we did.
Thank you, Damien. And another major project for the organizing team was the Regional Suburban Organizing Project. So much work EBHO was engaged in. Angelina, you want to speak for 5 seconds on this?
Yes, I'll speak very quickly. So RSOP is this program that we have been working on for a long time. It's to shift power in the suburbs towards equitable, affordable, inclusive housing for all. This summer, with the help of Davina, we hired on 8 temporary EBHO employees. We had over 125 shifts, conducted 23,000 calls just with our team alone. And that just really highlighted the organizing capacity that we have and how important it is to have one-on-one conversations with voters. Just some quick highlights of what we heard across the Bay Area is that people do believe that the main factor behind the high cost of housing is not enough affordable homes. So that is something that we heard across the Bay Area, and almost 80% of people that we surveyed believe that there should be a regional approach when implementing solutions to address housing affordability. So this is just one of the things that we will continue to be looking at and adding on to as we think about 2025 and our future campaigns.
Great. Thank you, Angelina. And thank you to the organizing team for the report on your activities. Next slide, please. Now we come to our policy team, and I'm going to hand it over to Jeff Levin, my colleague and our Senior Director of Policy, to lead us through this section.
Thank you, Sophia, and good afternoon, everybody. We just want to run through a few highlights from some of the policy work that we did over the past year. Let me start. If we can go to the next slide, please. A couple years ago, we were really involved throughout the region in advocacy around getting different jurisdictions to adopt their state mandated housing elements. In 2024, we were doing a lot of advocacy and follow-up on that process. At the beginning of the year, we issued a report on lessons learned from the 6th cycle housing element update, looking back at what worked, what didn't, and in particular focusing on the extent to which jurisdictions did or frankly did not fully meet the promise of affirmatively furthering fair housing and really making sure that they produce their housing elements using a fair housing and equity lens. We highlighted some things that work, but frankly, there's a lot of work to be done, and we will be continuing to work on that. And you'll hear a little about that from our other policy team folks. Since then, we've been looking at specific housing elements. Alameda County, who has finally, 2 years late, adopted their housing element with a lot of advocacy from us. We've been following up in Concord, particularly around site identification and affirmatively furthering fair housing, and we will hear a bit more about that. And in Oakland, we've been following up around zoning, as well as follow through on some of the policy commitments that were made in the housing element. Each year, cities and counties have to do an annual progress report on their housing element. Those are due to the state every year on April 1st. And we will be monitoring those annual progress reports and commenting on them to make sure that cities are actually staying on track with the commitments they made in those plans. And with that, let me turn it over to Joey.
Hi, everybody. Joey Flegel-Mishlove, and I think after this learning lab. I'll stop doing this, but I will introduce myself as a new policy associate. I came on board this summer as part of EBHO's big batch of new team members. I'm super happy to be here. I've been one of the primary team members with Megan and Davina working in Concord. So excited to share what we've been up to there this year. The first thing I'll talk about is something that's not new this year, something that EBHO has been working on for over 15 years, which is to ensure that at the site of the former Concord Naval Weapons Station, we have decent affordable housing. This site, which you can see as the open space picture on the screen, formerly had the Naval Weapons Station and is being redeveloped, has been in the process of being sold to the city of Concord and redeveloped into housing, open space, commercial space. It's a lot of land that's going to be turned into a lot of different things. And we've been advocating that a good chunk of that be affordable housing. And this year, with the new developer, Brookfield Properties, we have a new term sheet that was signed this year between the city of Concord and Brookfield Properties, and it includes a commitment to 25% of all new housing being deed restricted affordable housing. So that was a great success this year that we were happy to see. And you can see in the lower right-hand corner, one of the open houses that Brookfield Properties has been hosting, where EBHO has been encouraging folks to turn out and make their voices heard and track this program and this development to ensure that we do really see that affordable housing get built and that it's an integral part of this new development. One of the other things we've been tracking, as Jeff mentioned, is the Affirmatively Furthering Fair Housing rezoning project in Concord. Concord committed in their housing element last year to rezone at least 20 acres of sites in predominantly exclusive areas that have been predominantly white and wealthy in Concord that are currently zoned just for single-family housing. They've committed to rezoning that to allow for multifamily affordable housing. And it's been a fraught process. It's seen a lot of backlash. And there's a lot of pressure to choose sites that are out of the way, that aren't ideal for affordable housing, and that will cause the least trouble for homeowners who don't want their neighborhoods disturbed. And EBHO has been advocating hard that this process be completed in good faith and that we see real affordable housing built in these sites and we really take a swing at desegregating these neighborhoods. It's not going to happen all at once, but this process, if done right, can be a step in the right direction. And that's been an area where we've been advocating a lot this year. Finally, just some ongoing work that's always going on in Concord and around the Bay Area. We've been monitoring the Surplus Land Act, which requires that when a city has land that they're no longer using and they're ready to sell, that the first offers go to affordable housing developers, or affordable housing developers have the first option to make an offer on those sites. And Concord doesn't always want to play by those rules. So we've been monitoring, keeping track, and there have been a couple sites where we've held their feet to the fire and said, are you sure that you're offering this first to affordable housing developers? And we'll continue to do that as long as it takes for them to get the hang of following those rules. And we also want to thank all of our partners in the Raise the Roof Coalition who are active in Concord, who we've worked with on a number of tenant protection issues and making Concord a welcoming city for folks of all backgrounds and income levels. That's what we did this year in Concord, and feel free to follow up with any of us if there are any more questions. I'll pass it over to Megan.
I think we're going to Sophia first and then me, but no problem.
I will pass it to Sophia.
Thanks, Joey. Yes, and another area that the policy team has worked on this year and has worked on for several years is related to BART's transit-oriented development process, where they have been working for a number of years to include affordable housing on their station area sites. And so this is a picture of an earlier development from a few years ago, actually in South Hayward. But BART has a commitment for 20% affordable housing at each station where they do affordable housing development and 35% affordable housing system wide. And the reason they have that those requirements is because of EBHO advocacy several years ago. So in the last year, our advocacy has really focused around the two stations in Berkeley, where BART is currently pursuing development at the North Berkeley BART station and also at the Ashby BART station. At the North Berkeley BART station, there is a selected developer group called the North Berkeley Housing Partners that includes 3 affordable developers, all EBHO members, Bridge, Insight Housing, which used to be Berkeley Food and Housing Project, and Abalsi, together with Avalon Bay Communities that will be doing some of the market rate housing that will be part of the larger overall project. And a couple of different architecture firms, also EBHO members, are involved in that. David Baker Architects and Yes Duffy. That commitment that development group has made is for 50% affordable housing at that station site, and that's 50% of 750 units projected, as well as new open space as well. So and other amenities there in the neighborhood. And at Ashby, BART and the city just in the last couple of weeks released an RFP for soliciting a developer for that site. And that RFP makes a commitment for a permanent home for the Berkeley Flea Market, which is a big community priority, and also to work with and engage African American businesses and community organizations in the area. And again, projection of 750 homes with a minimum of 35% affordable. But more would be welcome. So that's the Berkeley update. Development is also occurring at El Cerrito Plaza Station, and we have been following that as well. There's a development group working there. So I want to pass it quickly to Megan, as I know our time is getting short.
Yes, thanks, Sophia. So a large part of our work this year was also in collaboration and following the great leadership of My Eden Voice. As Kiki mentioned, they were one of our honorees this year during Affordable Housing Month. They are a very strong, community-rooted and led organization building community power and fighting for tenant protections in the unincorporated area of Alameda County. In fact, they've been fighting for over 6 years, them and coalition partners, including EBHO, to fight for common sense protections to keep tenants in their homes, since there are currently still no local protections in Alameda County. So as a very quick trivia question, can folks quickly shout out parts of unincorporated Alameda County that you know?
Cherryland.
Cherryland.
Ashland.
Ashland, yep.
Castro Valley.
Yes, Castro Valley.
San Lorenzo.
San Lorenzo, yeah. Just one more.
Eden and Fairview.
Yes. Eden and Fairview. Thanks, everyone. That was a great collaborative effort. Kate, you can advance one.
Parts of San Leandro too, I think.
Yes. You can advance one slide. So this is a brief map of the unincorporated area. But just to note that, this area, or the Eden area, has a population of around 150,000 people, with over half as renters, who are largely left out of the conversation in housing justice and having tenant protections. And this is especially stark with over 95% of Eden renters living in single-family homes or homes that are exempted from, any baseline tenant protections on the state level. So late last year, Mighty and Voice and EBHO published a joint report, you can see it on the slide on the left side, to really try to achieve and cover, the first of its kind area-wide survey of renter needs in the Eden area, and also to highlight some critical policy recommendations that we strongly urge the Board of Supervisors in the county to adopt. So the report got really significant media attention. I think it really casts a wide view and kind of the first, local and regional conversations in the media around the need for tenant protections in the county. So we highly encourage anyone who hasn't read the report. It's available on our website and we'll share it here, but to take a deeper look, because it covers, as I mentioned, kind of survey data that Mighty and Voice did door-to-door canvassing with tenants, and then complemented with the policy recommendations that we suggest to the board. And while this tenant protections fight continues on the Board of Supervisors level, EBHO worked very hard to ensure that a comprehensive history of all the advocacy by Mighty and Voice, and also this report, is enshrined in the county's housing element. So you can also go to Alameda County's housing element and read, them citing directly from our report and uplifting the needs of the renters in the Eden area. So just wanted to close by saying we look forward to continuing our partnership with Mighty and Voice and working with the board next year to strengthen affordable housing protection, preservation, and protection in the need. And I'll pass it to Jeff.
Thank you. Next slide, and I'm going to try and do this really quickly because we're running short on time. In Oakland, back in 2015, EBHO led a campaign to adopt an impact fee charged on market rate developers to pay funds into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. That was successfully adopted in 2016, but since then we have been pushing for a number of changes, which we were promised would happen with a, quote, 5-year study that was supposed to happen in 2021, but wasn't actually released until this year. So we've been doing a lot of advocacy to prevent any cuts to that program and to strengthen it, particularly to make sure that the money that's coming in through the impact fee is committed to affordable housing as quickly as possible. Also in Oakland, we've been working on an issue around labor standards and the proposal to have a project labor agreement or union labor required on all city-assisted projects. And we've been working in conversation with the city council and a number of partners about how to balance a requirement like that with the city's existing requirements around local hiring and use of small local contractors and Oakland's equity goals, and how to balance all that. Including pointing out to the council that even without a requirement, 80 to 90% of the construction dollars going to Oakland assisted housing projects are going to union contractors. Both of those issues, if you're interested, you can find out more with our Oakland committee. And then lastly, through our regional policy committee, for years, we've worked on strengthening the State Surplus Land Act, and in 2024, we successfully fought off a fairly serious effort to weaken that law. And again, if you're interested in that and other state legislation, we do that in our regional policy committee. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our executive director, Lindsay Haddix, with a look forward to 2025.
Thank you so much, Jeff, and everyone. I know I only have a couple minutes left, and I don't know what else I can say that really hasn't already been covered. I'm so proud to be a part of this team. I've said many times, I just had my year anniversary in September as executive director, although I have been a member and a supporter and a champion and a fan girl of EBHO for a long time. So I just really appreciate being on the inside now and getting to work with this incredible team, our amazing members and supporters on our priorities and goals. So the first trivia question that I have for you really quickly is, where can you find these 4 priorities that EBHO has listed here? And the answer is, because we're short on time, is our strategic plan, which we're in the middle of. And so these are the things that we're going to continue to work on next year, deepening our impact in more cities and unincorporated areas of the counties, shifting decision-making power, and making sure that we have diverse representation and policy leadership, diversifying and fortifying the housing justice movement overall, as well as shifting the broader systems and resources towards holistic and equitable ways of building communities. And I think you can see those themes running throughout all the accomplishments, the many accomplishments that we had this year, and will continue to be what we focus on next year. Last slide, or next slide, please, which I think is the second to last slide. Next trivia question: who drew this amazing drawing representing EBHO's 40 years of fighting for housing justice in the East Bay? Yes, right. Yours truly. I drew this little drawing when I was trying to think of, it's not as nearly as great and amazing as the drawing that Kiki showed earlier, but this is my attempt of showing what I think about when I think about EBHO's 40 years of fighting for housing justice and the intersectionality between a healthy environment and reliable transit and diverse neighborhoods and diverse types of housing and safe, stable communities. And I think it's my reflection on our powerful legacy, powerful future. So if we go to what I believe is the last slide, so that since we're a minute over, I just want to give a huge shout out to the EBHO staff. We've been a lot of places and a lot of spaces this year with all of you. Some of it conferences, some of it doing things for fun, all represented here. But I can't say more positive things about this staff and how lucky I am to be part of it. And I think maybe the next slide is the actual last slide. I keep saying yes. So just a reminder to, if you haven't yet already, for 2025 to join or renew your EBHO membership. And also, if you like what we're doing and that you think like a friend or a colleague or a neighbor or a partner in housing justice and affordable housing work would also enjoy being a part of EBHO, tell them about our Lunch and Learn series. We have recordings of all of our past ones on our website. Invite them to come to one of our events, and please do invite them to consider joining. We have a sliding scale for membership. We never want financial burden to prevent people from joining. So I think our lowest dues is $5 a year. So please do spread the word about the great work that EBHO is doing, so we can continue to grow and build this membership and have more impact throughout the East Bay and the region. So just again, want to thank everybody. We got our diehards with us here today in our last Lunch and Learn of the year. Just really appreciate all of the work that's gone into this series and all the work that we've done that we covered. And I wish everybody a peaceful, safe, restful, relaxing, joyous holiday season. Rest up, because we got more work to do next year, and we're going to be back at it before you know it. So thank you all so much for everything that you do to make EBHO the amazing space and have the impact that it does. And we'll see you in the new year. Happy holidays, everyone.
Take care, everyone. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everybody. See you next year.